action. Welcome to the water show. All right, so this is a Mark Bryan little wave thing we got going on here. I started this a little bit yesterday or whatever day that was. So today we're gonna like kind of wrap it up, more layers and what have you, so it'll be a lot easier to paint. You want to do this in stages of layers, not just one. Color-wise, I'm going to be using quite a bit of water and blue, cerulean blue, a little permanent green, black, even some burnt umber to warm it up a little bit. So in here, in this area here, it's going to be a lot darker. So we'll probably start there after we do the outline. So outline of the wave, we're kind of doing a combination of that top of the wave and more like this kind of a top of a wave. So it'll be like a little hybrid action. All right, so this is like a sketch, sketching it on there a little bit. I'll take kind of a grayish color to get it started. And in the sketch, it goes over the house. I'll come up here with that. And overlap it right about there. So it's a nice curve. And then we'll get the sides going on there. All right, so that'll be one. And the rest of the wave, top of the wave will be coming down like this. So maybe curling over. All right, so then we got that. Right now I'm just getting the direction of it. So this is like a first coat. You want to make sure that the edge of the wave is really clean. And the interior of the wave, you can mess it up a little bit with no big deal. So I'm going to do more of the permanent green here, a little bit more of the blue, mix it out. And it's going to be like simple, small, well, small-ish strokes, but they're going to be long. Oh, not that wide, but pretty long. So it's going to be one layer. As you can see, it's not covering, not thick enough paint. Might take a couple layers. That's why I'm glad we have part of this on layer number 2 already. And then the dark background here underneath the wave, we'll have this get kind of dark right there at the crookedy crook of it. All right, so then you want to make sure you don't have any small brush strokes. So if you're painting this and you have these like little choppy things like this, watch this, chop, chop, chop. If you have those, you can go back over them, a little more water on them, and then blend them out. Whoa, that was a bunch of white. Oh, that's okay. We could use some light on there. All right, so then I'm gonna get it darker on this side, then I'll come back in with the blues and what have you. So it's all about the layers. Tons of layers. Blue back in there, a little green, and we'll start doing the highlights after I get these dark values put in. Okay. Hold on one second there. All right, so then I'll even switch to a little bit of a larger brush to get some of these things going a little bit faster. With this, the lights are going to go on top of the dark values. And when you're doing them, you got to really concentrate that you're going the right direction. So all the way up and curve down. So it's like a nice slow pace on this thing. And you got to be careful that you don't go too saturated. You don't want to look like a crayon box or something like that. Here's more green I'm putting on there. Pretty saturated, but I'll go over it with blue. See all the layers I'm doing. And I start out smooth, and I'll start developing the textures in there. Smooth first, then the texture. More of the pure blue going over the green and the brown. And it's not just like this is all flat right here. So I'll start with this. Nothing, nothing, nothing. Then I'll go like a little wider down here on the bottom. And flip it up. It's all with a round brush right now. And then same thing here. I'll lighten it up a little bit more. And from here on down, it's going to get pretty dark. And if you have plenty of water on your brush, it's going to be easy to blend. And over here, I'm going to go like blue and black. Get it really dark down here so it's a nice contrast. And once again, this is like layer number 2. Layer number 1 was like okay to get started with. You can't really do much in your first layer. It's going to look kind of thin and not that watery. It's like a kind of a hot mess, to tell you the truth. But you want that depth in it with a lot of layers. So on this side, it's like one layer, and it's kind of like smaller brush strokes. You got to get that flowy, flowy, water. So here's some flowy, flowy. water, really dark, and we'll go back in, add some blue to that. But then watch the flowy, flowy. Flowy, flowy, flowy. Flowy, flowy, flowy. Flowy, 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 flowy. And the key to painting water is water. Put a little more green on there. I'll like spread that green out, so even though I have the green in there, I can put a little spot of green on this side, a little spot of green on that side, maybe a little more blue now on that. And this is getting a little bit on the dry side, so I can tell that. I can see the texture, the scratchiness of the water. So, whoa. Add too much white. That's okay though, it's not my project. And I'll like get the white in there. See how like smooth it is though, so it's like really smooth, really flowy. The key to that, once again, is water. Without the water, you won't have a nice smooth wave. No water, no smooth wave. Okay, we're starting to get the right colors in there, so it's like a little bit of brown, a little bit of blue, a little bit of green. I'll have some highlights in here, but the highlights are going to be much less. Want that dark, kind of give you a sense of depth. And then up here, I'll go back up to the top before I do that white waves. And then it's going to curve down. So I'll start off kind of dark, where the foam is. And right here is way too dry. So now I'm going to go in here, more water again. Then let it kind of fade out. So it's like, ooh, accidentally got some white in there, but that's okay. Adds more variety. Not just one, so don't worry about not getting one color. There's no like perfect colors. It's going to be like a whole variety of colors that are in there. So I'm switching brushes again to a smaller round, like a medium size round. This is where I can start getting in some other values and stuff. Okay, with this. Now, the tricky part is when you go to this size of brush, is that it makes a bigger difference because you're going to have more contrast on it. So it's harder to get that swing. So you want to make sure that as you're doing these brush strokes, you got to get your hand moving a little bit more. Like get used to that pattern. Like that's a little bit wobbly. And then now it's getting too dry. You can tell it's dry because I have a little bit of that dots. So dots on the canvas means your paint's too dry. So I'll go in here, and the patterns he has a little more organic. So I'll go in here, change the shape a little bit. So watch this. I'll go down, squish down a little bit, pull up, down, pull up a little bit. So they're kind of divided a little bit. They're not totally smooth. I'll have some skinnier ones over here. And this is like a lighter version. It's like a tint of the watercolor. And after I'm done with the tint of the watercolor, I'll go back into it with like even a brighter white. All right, so this is like another phase. We have phases. This is the tint of the water phase. Because of the first coat that we did, this paint's going on a lot easier. It's hard if it's like too thin. All right, so then I can mix up even a lighter value and get it like, you get like a band of highlights. Show you that. It's kind of like a little bling. Bling, bling. So it's almost like a pure white. I'll go a little less pure white. So a little more pure white in one part of it. Look at the kind of a look that it's bending and you're getting like the sun catching it on the side. And if you want to smooth those out, you can use a bright brush to go over those. I'll show you how to do that in a second. Now I got that bend, and then I can take a bright brush and drag it through it really lightly. I'll just kind of like blur it out just slightly. So nice and smooth bend. All of a sudden you're starting to get that little bling-a-ding on there. It's called a bling-a-ding. Another one here. You can have more of these. I'm not going to do the whole thing. Let's do part of it. But these are the major techniques. So, tints, and then pure white little dots here and there. Make it sparkle. Make it sparkle, my narkle. All right, a little dot over there, so a little splishy splash. Now up here, on the top part, we have like the curvature of this foamage, and I'll show you that. So this is going to be coming down here. I'll show you how we do this. This is going to be the cap of the foam that's coming over. It's not really pure white. It's like a tint. It's kind of like a watery. It'll start watery. We'll get less watery here in a second. Okay, so now it's starting to curl, but the back part of this wave here, I'm going to show you that. So to do the back part of the wave, you're going to get this. Foam doesn't go all the way down. So I'm going to take green, blue, you know, the watercolors. Curve that up. Go back down this other side. And then I'll show you in a second here what that looks like. Oh, this is the part of the way it's kind of curving over. So to get that, it needs to look like it's coming up and over. So to do that, I got to make sure we can see that the strokes are coming this way, not this way. Got a little bit too much green in there, but it'll be mostly covered with white. Maybe some more blue. And if you don't like the colors when you're done, you can go over them with glazes, change them like super easy. The crest of the wave right here. I need to add more water to it though. It's a little bit on the dry side, not bad. Pure water. Coming over there. Oh, that's nice. That's a nice wet, loopy brush. Gotta like the loop. All right. That's round 2 of that thing or whatever. Now I'm gonna go back into the waves again. It's a little less watery, almost white paint. And I'll start getting this to come all the way across. A little bit of a little hippity hop to it. So I got a little bit of scumbling, taking the brush, making little dots, almost like little leaves or something. And it doesn't have to be realistic. And so Mark Bryan does very stylized waves. This is somewhere in between. It's like the Japanese woodcut called the wave. I think it's called the wave. Yeah, it's called the wave. Ooh, I think it's called the Great Wave. Never mind. Anyhow, with that wave, it was he has like more like this kind of style. So it's kind of what reference I'm using. And over here in this part, more difficult to see because it's over the white part of the sky, but that's all right. And I'll have some of the foam. Now, for this is like the top part of the foam here, but then I want to get the current of the waves going back there. So what I'll do is could use a smaller brush even, but you know, time-wise, we'll just keep going. So with this, it's like little foamy lines coming up into this. Very watery paint. Tricks, quick, get the phone and say, Professor Von Stevens' office, can I help you? Go. Oh. Professor Von Stevens' office, can I help you?
Hello, Professor Stevens' office, how may I help you? Are we going over to the library to see the counselors?
Yes.